Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Hot Seat with Pendola. Thank you so much for tuning in. In season 1, I did an episode on drug abuse and alcoholism. It was a conversation with Tato. And today, I want to expand on that conversation around drug abuse. And I'm talking to Thandeka. Thandeka is going to share her story with us. And I think the reason I want to talk to a different person around the same topic is because this is such a huge topic and it affects most of us as South Africans, whether you are the one using the drugs or whether family members using drugs. So I deemed it very important that I actually touch on this subject again. Thandeka, thank you so much for joining me on the Hot Seat with Pendola.
Thank you, Penny, for having me here.
Yeah. Before we start, I want you to tell me, Thandeka ubani, uphumaphi, wenzani, kanjani, you know?
Okay, Thandeka. I am from Soweto.
Okay.
Pimville.
Right.
I grew up in Orlando East.
Okay.
Grew up with a single mom. Ukhuliswe ugogo.
Yeah.
But, I can't really say there was anything different in my childhood. Ngikhule kahle nje with a single mom and went to school, went to the best schools actually. And I'm a musician. I'm actually into poetry now, but I've studied music in school.
Right.
Yeah. And I hope I'm answering your question. Who am I?
Yeah, you are. And Thandeka, tell me, how did your relationship with drugs start? Yeah.
I think a relationship with drugs starts before you pick up the drugs. I've always had a very, very addictive personality. I've always ngijaiva kakhulu. Yonke into ngiyenza extreme. And I think it started me being a party animal. I had a very strict mother. Mama beka strict kakhulu. So mangiphumele ejardini, I become someone else. Two lives. Mangisekhaya ngiyabehave, mangiphumela ngaphandle ngiyashaya. And I liked dressing up. I liked fashion. I liked at the time, And I think lokujaiva kakhulu, wanting to always be at parties, drinking a lot and, promiscuous is what eventually led to my drug addiction.
Right.
Because me being a party animal, I never dreamt that I would pick up drugs. Yes, I was using drugs, alcohol.
Alcohol, yes. But it's also a form of drug,
yes, right? But little did I know, Guti, it would escalate to me doing all sorts of drugs that I ended up doing and reaching a rock bottom.
Wow.
So I started with little drugs, weed. And I remember we'd always used to say weed is not a drug, but now I know weed is definitely a drug. But I started smoking weed at a very young age. As a teenager.
This young age, what age was this?
I think I must have been 15, 16 when I started using weed.
Wow.
Religiously, like ugwai. Religiously. I actually wrote most of my exams at school.
High.
Yeah, but at the time, basically, no, it's not a drug, it's a herb. It escalated to ecstasy. I remember in high school, we used to go to socials. And I would use a lot of drugs, a lot of ecstasy, social and alcohol. And it's not just the drugs I became addicted to. It was more the lifestyle as well. I liked being out there because I knew ekhaya yenziwa leyo nto leyo. My mom, very strict. Ekhaya. So every time ngiphuma ekhaya, ngenza yonke into so that mangibuyele ejardini, ayisekho leyo nto leyo. And it just escalated. I remember working in call centers, a very stressful environment one can work, very fun as well. But that's where I started a lot of drugs. Obviously, ecstasy, escalator. I mean, I can sit here today and say I've done most of the drugs, and I then finished school successfully.
So I went.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I went to a college called L&B campus where I did sound engineering. That's where everything just went wild. That's where I started going very wild. I left my mom's house because obviously bengihlale res. Left the res. I didn't even pass my diploma. I never got that diploma.
Wow.
I then stayed with friends, rented townhouses, rented flats, got jobs. No, obviously from varsity, got jobs, call centers,
call center,
everything just happened. Everything just started happening positively in my life. Little did I know, which is God was giving me opportunities to get somewhere in life. Kanti mina ngiyisebenzisile to get out of my mother's authority and just be wild. So jobs, yes, I always had. And, I went to the best parties in the world. Not in the world, I mean, in our country. But that's where all this shit started. Sorry for my language.
No.
But, but the most part that actually escalated this drug addiction was, I think, towards about 4 years ago when I started indulging in other things. Because remember, when you're an addict, you don't just get addicted to drugs. You get addicted to other things. I started, I was introduced to prostitution at some point. But I do blame the drugs. Me using drugs is how I met up with people that actually said that led me to prostitution. At the time, they printed this prostitution as escorting. It wasn't the type of prostitution that I grew up knowing, Wuti, the girls that stand at the street. I remember this girl explaining to me that we'll be entertaining gentlemen. This is what you'd be doing. But that is prostitution. And I actually got addicted to it because at some point I thought I don't have to go to work. I make more money than going into an office. But I would not be able to do prostitution without using the drugs. So it was, in essence, it was the drugs that introduced me to that prostitution, and then it was just mambo jumbo.
You're comfortable doing the prostitution because you're high.
Yes. And I'm making lots of money in that. And, to be honest, even today, that prostitution still plays as the drugs. I still have to psych myself every day that this is not the way a woman should be making money. It's still in my mind. If all fails, I should be going back to such. It's a process on its own where, in my NA program, there's an NA program that I do now in my recovery where
what's an NA
it's a Narcotics Anonymous program that encourages you to stay clean. But there's 12 steps where the first step, there's an admission that, yes, I am an addict. I find myself having to admit on the first step with prostitution as well. So I've actually invited addiction twice, the prostitution as well as the drugs.
So prostitution on its own is an
addiction, just like gambling, just like sex addiction. But the trick here is people always think that prostitutes are actually addicted to sex. It's not that. Prostitutes are more addicted to money, to making that money. You understand? I doubt if there would be a prostitute that is sober. Yes, maybe there is, but this prostitution was opened up because of this drug addiction. Anyway, let me not talk more of the prostitution, but the drugs escalated in such a way that I would be going to rehabs. I've been to rehabs so many times. I think this is my 6th attempt where I am clean more than a year. I would be clean 6 weeks and then go back. I would be clean 3 months and go back. Or I would just go to the rehab and come out again. And people would ask me, even now they still ask me, what is it that has changed? If you're a serial relapser, what is it?
Okay, this 6th time.
Yes.
It's more than a year. What is it about it that is different?
I think I had to reach a rock bottom where I was chased out of home. I had no home because eventually I had to go back to my mom's house, Soweto. After yonke lento le, after admitting that this is what I did, because remember I'm from a house strict ekhaya awufiki nje and start lying. My mom sees right through you, so I had to admit ukuthi iyo yonke lento engiyenzile, I need your help, and come back home. But enye into engenza ukuthi manje ngibone ukuthi there is a difference. I am going forward with my recovery is because I had to fall. I fell really hard. I lost everything. I lost myself. I lost ngilahlekile nje, ngalahla yonke into. And I remember being chased out of home. I had no home. There was a time.
Who was chasing you out of home?
My mom, obviously. Akasangifuni kwakhe because ngenze yonke into. I stole, everything. I would, even be doing the lousiest of things. Angithi sengiyekile the escorting.
Yeah, the escorting.
Now you're sleeping. Yeah, now you're sleeping with ordinary people that lebo ungayicabanga ukuthi uzofika.
Yeah.
I remember there was a day where I was walking around with bags in the middle of the night. I think at my AMs I had come from a guy's house because they say
so hobo uskidlava
that
so were they funding you, were you still on drugs, or so
I was definitely on drugs until the last day that I made a decision that the only way Engang Caesar is to going into rehab, not a car my mom had enough, but at the time, you know, her rejecting me helped me today. Today I can see that rejection, because I had there was a day, the 1 week I had nowhere to go after walking around with bags, ebusuku, and I remember asking some guy, it lived down.
Yeah.
I need a place to stay. I need a place to sleep. You know? And this guy said, where you can chill, you can be there until you sort yourself out. Because the way you you're not supposed to be around here, you know. And I remember I had to be alone. Everyone has rejected me. Every person that I knew. I don't have anything in there, you'll sort yourself out.
Yeah.
In that week that I was there, I was very close to my higher power, you know. And I remember praying and I remember thinking, you know, it's either I go on and I die in this addiction, or I know the rooms that can help me, which is the NA rooms. I have to go to rehab because I'm saying I don't have a job, I don't have a car, I don't have nothing. So the only thing that would help me right now is to clean up my life, unless if I'm giving up and saying, which was not an option at the time, you know. And I remember walking, every day I would go and crook someone to be able to get food, to be able to get drugs, you know. And I knew sometimes you have to sleep with people that you don't want to sleep with because you have to support this habit. Leso sikhathi nginjani, abantu engibaziyo did not even recognize me. Some of my teeth were gone. You know, my weight, I was so skinny that I would pass people adlule ngemoto ngiyazi ukuthi ngiyamazi, but that person does not recognize me. And thank God I didn't stop them because I was very shy and embarrassed ukuthi sengifike la, but uyadlula lo muntu akangiboni. I remember going to Sanka, El Dorado Park, and you know, seeking for help. I had no ID. I had lost my ID. I had nothing in Caesar to get through to Sanka. But because I was busy praying every day while I was using these drugs, being tandas every day in Kalangzile, Uti, please help me. You know, I'm choosing life instead of where I'm heading. Clearly, I'm heading for death because sometimes I've been to initiation years ago in 2006. I would meet people walk, and sometimes it was almost like the world was turning against me, but God was constantly sending people. Make a decision. You have to make this choice. And I would go home. My mom would not want to see me. And then maybe Benuga. Who knows? Maybe Benuga. I had no one. Benkeza, my chance. You go to someone's house, you wash. Sometimes I went back because they know the type of life I lived before, and for me to allow myself to get to that point. So yeah, I suffered a lot with drugs, and I would come back of rehab and change the drugs. Saying you use something else. Saying you use something else. Saying you understand? So it was just chaos after chaos after. I've lost jobs because of this drug addiction. But what I'm noticing is changing now is that because I was rejected, especially at home, my mom would say really nasty things to me. I realized, lo mama ufuna ngizimele ngempela ngimdala. If she didn't chase me out of her house and say, I don't think I would have met the rooms that helped my life today. That rejection is what actually made me stand. So I always say, rejection, because I think throughout me trying to clean up and her supporting me, taking me to private rehabs, really didn't help. Because I would come out and still, So me having me to sort myself out and a God that I understand better now.
Wow.
You understand?
What's the worst thing that you believe you've done to get a fix? I mean, you might have answered that already, but what is the worst thing that you look at it today, you think, did I really do that just to get a fix?
I think I'll say selling my body was the worst. Selling my body. Because I used to be very judgmental of prostitutes. Mangikhola ngithi why la mantombazana angathengisa amakipkipi or why something, you know, I never thought I would find myself doing that. So me doing it twice was the worst. Yes, I've done fraud, yes, I've stolen because of this disease, you know, and I always used to say to people, mama drugs, I'm not a thief. But once I pick up, I'm a thief and a prostitute. And you understand? Everything that's
bad comes with just this
yes.
And I mean, you mentioned how your relationship with your mom was. She supported you throughout. And I would say, who else, you know, well, how did this affect other family, your relationship with other family members?
I lost so many people in my life. I had a very lavish lifestyle at some point. You know, I think being cool, so the falling went right down. I lost friends. And come to think of it, you may never push away once I started using because they didn't want the drugs. So yes. You know, so it really put a strain in my relationship with my family because I would go with my functions and people would hide bags. They would hide bags, but you know, I've got 2 boys, a 13-year-old and a 7-year-old, and because both my kids were born out of my addiction. Both the kids were born. I was high making the kids. I was high in the pregnancies. You know, so in the NA program, they do mention a babies born in addiction. My babies are born in addiction, but I thank God they don't have sicknesses. They don't have anything ebonakalayo manje. Ba-right. Okwamanje lesi engakayiboni. Nasesikolweni ba-right. Esingakayiboni. Yes. But you know, I really regret that. You know, I regret addiction because and my mom always used to say, why uletha abantwana emhlabeni if you are still busy with drugs? And let me tell you, I got my first child late, 29. Pressure because people around me had kids. Little did I know which if ngihlanya kanje uzobayenzani labantwana ubani uzobagada. And my mom is a very strict woman who would always remind me ukuthi ubayenzele mina konje, which is true. Now that I see it, it's so unfair that at her age, my mom is almost 70, ukhulisa abantwana bam that are young, that I got them late, so bancane. It's not like abantu abadala, and you know, that really pains me that I don't want history repeating itself, because in our rooms of NA, we do believe that sometimes if addicts have kids and they use, history tends to repeat itself. Just like a child growing up in an environment, chances are uzodagwa naye. Nalapho kutshontshwa khona uzotshontsha naye. You know, and I pray every day that this does not follow me. And I always believe that, you know, since I've made this relationship with a higher power that I now understand, if I stay clean, if I fix my side of the road, surely ngiyabalungisela now. If I pick up again, izos repeat, yes. And you know, I'm trying to do things differently this time around, but that rejection and the rock bottom that I had to face is what makes this different in my recovery, because no one was there for me. You understand? Bringing one, and I knew Gucci, I have to choose life or ending the life. You understand? It was never about, I want a job back. I want this back. I just wanted life.
Living.
I just wanted life at that point where yonke into sengiyenza njengalabantu bengithe ngingifane nabo. I'll never be like that girl. Sengiphethe amabhegi ngama-AM sengifunana nomkhukhu nje. Sengenza izinto that I've never even repeated to the next person. Lapho engihlala khona, people don't know that I'd sell my body, but I know. And in the program that I'm in, I need to be honest. Yeah. And I started taking these things out in the recovery program because there's steps where you have to admit every single thing. You're admitting to yourself and to God, most importantly. Because if you I need to come clean.
Close to you.
Yes, making amends, doing that.
I mean, they're young, right? But
I think they knew. You know why? Because engaga mama wam. Akayikhipheli kubo kodwa makazikhuluma lezi zinto ngomlomo. Bayazi. Abomakhelwane. Surely they say to the kids that umama mama drugs. Because I remember there was one time my son actually said he was crying. Ngiyambuza ukuthi I was still in active addiction. Athi abangani bakhe say umama khuphe minyawu. Yes, it's not nyaupe. Kids don't know, but a drug is a drug to them, And it really pains me that I put them through that. But, I'm hoping time is going to heal everything. Time, me being clean, and I'm constantly praying that, indlela zami wrong. Zingafiki kubo endlebeni zabo. Maybe zifikile bebasebancane. Let's just hope.
And then your relationship no mama manje?
Oh, I have a much better relationship with my mom. I used to hate my mom. I used to think she's the evilest woman ever. But I've gotten to understand, no, she did what she did because I was in active addiction. I was becoming an animal, so she had to find skills to deal with an animal. I have a much better relationship with my mom. Everything that I thought my mom was,
she's not.
She's definitely not. She's definitely not. And I started realizing, gimme, because I have a strong personality myself, just like she's a strong person. So, these years, my mom doesn't love me, my mom. No, that's because she saw potential and she had to, you understand? So I have a much better relationship. I don't stay with my mom and my kids, but she's the best thing ever in my life right now. Because I'm starting to appreciate of taking care of my kids. If she wasn't there, I'm in recovery. Because remember, I stayed in the halfway house a year. So I was staying in rehab a full year. I'm just out now. It's about three months or so that I'm out after the year of being clean.
But do you still go back?
We're home. Yes, I go home every month. But I have my own place.
Are you still at
I work there.
Oh, you work?
Luckily, they gave me a job there.
Okay, so that's that should surely influence the journey.
Yes.
That's obviously surely will have a positive impact on staying clean. So what do you do there?
Well, I've been working there. It's an ordinary job. I kind of manage the shop. There's a shop they have there. This job they had given me while I was in there. I think it was for good behavior, but I had applied that please can I have this job?
Sure.
But what I'm doing in my recovery now is I attend, this corona thing, there's no meetings in NA outside.
Yes, yeah.
I attend the meetings inside. They've granted me to do that. So this place has saved my life, Kakul. Me working there, like you are seeing it, I see it that way as well. It helps my clean time. It helps my mind to know, Guti, I need to stay clean. It helps me seeing these addicts walking in every day. From clean addiction, from fresh coming into detox. I have someone that I speak to, which we call a sponsor, that assists me with day-to-day coping of being an addict. I'm fairly fresh outside, but I strongly believe, Uguti, Sengnaw tools amaning that are being taught by this NA program inside, because we have sessions that we do since the NA program. There's different skills that they give you to stay clean.
So while you're out,
no.
That highness,
the desire, no. I don't have the desire to use anymore. Yes, there's triggers that lead me to want to use, but I haven't had them yet because I've learned, if don't go to places, certain places have certain people that use. If I go to a barber shop, I'm going to cut my hair. Hence, I made this decision of not going back to Pimville. I thought, let me stay away from, it's one of the places.
Yeah, it's one of the
Even my house, my actual house sometimes gets toxic. It's two women, mina no mama, that if sihlala sonke isikhathi eside, kuba toxic. I have a brother, a sibling that is in active addiction. So that for me, even my brother's in active addiction. Mama see too, kuba ne fire, kuba gubi kakhulu. We get along better. Magunale distance.
Yeah.
You understand? And I've just learned a lot of tools, and I think ngishayike kakhulu ngaze ngawa ngaface ground that I know ukuthi I can't go back there. You know what I mean? And I remember there's a drug counselor that I have, Usaki. Saki always says that noma ngangena yini engqondweni, things will happen, triggers. Just as long as you are playing the video back, lapho phuma khona. And my video that I played back was me walking AMs ngebag. Ufuna indawo yokulala. Because another thing is, sometimes I don't tolerate amadoda kakhulu. I have a very strong personality, so sometimes ngesikhathi bathi uyadelela. I cannot tolerate being told half the time, so if I don't believe that it should be done. So I remember Saki saying that play the video back as long as you don't pick up. Recovery is going to be a process. I'm not angiphilanga ngisagula saka ukugula ngisazogula isikhathi eside ngize ngiyofa. It's what I do in the recovery to maintain it. It's what I do. Ukugula desire ngafika ngelinye ilanga. What do I do if I have that desire? Right now I don't have it. Thank God.
But
I have tools of how to deal with it. That's why the support. That's why there's a support.
Which my next question here, the recovery journey. The structure of it, the support, both in, Phakathi, Lapho, and as well as, you've already touched on it a bit, your mother is quite supportive.
Very. Yes.
Which is why I friends now, do you have any friends now?
I don't, but most interesting thing, all the friends that I had neglected before because of drugs, bayabuya. It shows they were friends.
Yeah.
They were actually friends. For a long time. Those friends that are meaningful are actually coming back to my life. They're happy that you're cleaning up. It's type of friends abayaziyo.
Yeah.
Abangaziyo, which you are capable of this and that. That constantly remind me that ungakhohlwa wayenza ini nani so good. So you can still. I'm always getting inspirations from people like Abu Cindy that are always bayangazi where I am from, what I went through. So I've realized I don't actually need friends, but friends abakdala are coming back in my life, which is a great thing.
Which is a great thing. It's a sign of change. It's a sign that says you're going back to what you need to be.
Yes.
Where you were.
But, being alone, sometimes I've never been a person that likes being alone. I've always been an extrovert. I thought I was an extrovert. In essence, I wasn't. I like my time. I heal a lot. I read a lot. I do a lot of things in one. I believe that sometimes the higher power it doesn't work. Message. So I'm enjoying my time.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying my time. I believe God is going to open up other doors. Is He greater than that? So I'm still early in my recovery, but I have no room for a relapse.
Yeah.
No. I always put my kids first. What I've put them through already, I always put them first.
Yeah.
I don't have space for a relapse right now.
Yeah. So Thandeka, what do you say to someone who is still in there, who's still smoking that drugs, who is still trying to steal their mother's microwave to go sell it for drugs.
Hey, you know what I would say to that person? I think you're making the wrong decision, number one. Number two, answering your question of what I mean by doing drugs or this addiction before you actually pick up the drugs, because the drug is the manifestation of the addiction.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cases. Sometimes ngiyathula, ngiyabuzwa ekhaya. Let's say ubaba mulala nam, ngiyathula. Your emotions. Do you understand? Everything starts going wrong there. Sometimes a lot of things happen to us, especially young people, never say before. Addiction is not just something that you decided to ngizodla drugs today. Something happened. That's why most psychologists or Dr. Njebekanda will tell you something happened. Something happened. Either I wanted to be better than everyone else in this room, and so it manifested with me trying to look good. Sometimes it will manifest trying to be different and always dressing up. Sometimes, it's different things that manifest before you actually pick up the drug.
Yeah. You also mentioned earlier on, you mentioned an addictive personality.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. And an addictive personality is something that, someone would know about themselves, where you find people like, if they discover a Rocco Mama's burger, like a Black Star, and Yabamnandi, that becomes the thing. Like, it's standard. When they go to Rocco Mama's, that's the burger, that's the only thing that they're having, and they become predictable, So it starts there. You start seeing it there, that you have a tendency to cling on stuff.
Yes.
And are we then saying, and I'm asking, just a general question to say, are those those types of people that are more prone to drug abuse? Because there are people I know who have the ability to say no. They even in the midst, even with the people that are drinking alcohol and smoking drug, people just have the ability to say, I'm not going to try this.
Okay, I'll talk for myself.
Yeah.
Exactly what you described is exactly what I am.
Yeah.
So I do think anyone who does that.
Anyone who's extreme. You said
anyone who's extreme. Kakhulu. Even now. Yeah. If I start the internet, if I start liking something on the internet, for a long time, and then I get to something else. But unfortunately, if they put in a situation where they have friends that use drugs, I think, it's my opinion, uzongena naye kakhulu. So that's just my opinion. Because I thought I loved color. Yes, I'm an artist, but I thought yonke into mangiyenza kakhulu. But I've noticed that people that start with drug addiction are very similar to me. We get to rooms, we discuss, we talk about our lives. Siyafana, lapho nalapho nala. Mara sikhuluma istori abuyele emuva. I relate so much. I used to do this. I used to read so much. I was addicted to reading, though I was young and notisang. I used to write music. That's why addictive personality becomes the key word in our NA meetings. Then you realize this is the similarity.
So the trick here, it sounds like it's about understanding yourself. Because if you understand that you have an addictive personality, you might actually have the ability to manage yourself and understand when we are akulu, and I don't know in your meetings, where is there NA, obviously, I'm assuming that there's psychologists that speak to you, guys, or are there any psychologists? Are there any professionals that deal with personality types, that deal with the mental side of the recovery?
Not in the NA meetings. Remember, the NA meetings is just addicts that are sharing lives.
Okay.
The program of rehabilitation, yes, has psychologists, psychiatrists. So NA program in a rehab is just a plus for addicts. It's got nothing to do with healing you or how do I put this? It's just support groups. NA programs is support group.
A good part of healing. I mean, if you're engaging with the people that are also addicts, they share their story, and there's a relation, and you understand what there's a similarity way or a similar way of having gotten into the drugs. And those are people that keep you out. You also mentioned a sponsor.
Yes.
That conversation is critical.
True.
To have that conversation. In order to make sure that you stay on the journey. But I think you said something also profound, Thandeka, around that you will always be an addict.
Yes. Yeah. I might not always be a drug addict, but if I don't manage my addiction, it can manifest to something else.
Yeah.
I can be addicted. I can be addicted to reading. Like, you probably saw me outside on my phone. It's I could be addicted to something else. That's why the NA program, the actual program, has 12 steps that each step helps us to manage our addiction. I have to manage me. I'll be an addict until I die, not necessarily a drug addict.
Yeah, but it is some sort of an addict of whatever. Yes. Wow. And thank you so much for talking to us. Your story is really, really inspiring. Although there's a lot of sad things about your story, but I'm inspired from those things as just a person talking to someone who is comfortable in admitting where the wheels came off, admitting what needs to be done, because that is bravery. In as much as you got yourself in the drugs or whatever the case may be, but the ability to sit here and say, I've lost this, I've done this, I've done the worst kind of thing, I've judged, and I ended up being in that position where I was judging the people. Just being honest with the people around you and sharing the story is I'm assuming is part of the journey of recovery. So I really, really appreciate you joining me and chatting to me about this, and good luck.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you so much. Yo, guys, drugs, alcoholism, and any substance abuse, and I like what Thandeka said, about addiction. An addict is an addict, not necessarily drugs or any, the weed and the alcohol, but any addiction is not good. And I think it's just about understanding who you are and the type of person that you are, and understanding what triggers you to do certain things. I really appreciate you joining me in this conversation. Please remember to subscribe, like, and comment, and please share your thoughts, share your experience. And if you do have a question for Thandeka, please ask her, drop it on the comments, and I will ask her to answer your questions. It's been real. Thank you so much.